Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Shape Unplugged. I'm your host, Stephanie Morris, and today I have a very special guest with me, the current president of Shape America, who also serves as the curriculum specialist for health and physical education for Milwaukee Public Schools, Brett Fuller. Hi, Brett. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for having me on the show. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And I know that so many in our community are really excited to hear your thoughts today about what this year has been like for you and some of the experiences you're having. But first and foremost, I always really like to check in with our guests just to hear a little bit about how they're doing right now. It's such an incredibly challenging time. So, how are you and how is your family?
Well, I'm really pleased to say that we're all healthy right now. We did, all four of us, my wife and my two children, did contract COVID back at the end of November. We're still not certain where or who we got it from, just the way it is. But we all got through that. It was rough, but no one even got hospitalized. But I'm blessed that we were all okay and everybody's healthy right now. But thank you for asking.
I'm so glad to hear all of that. Absolutely. So, Brett, you oversee health and physical education for Milwaukee Public Schools. That must be a huge role, especially right now. Can you share a little bit with us about what that job looks like right now, especially in this COVID-19 era, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing?
I would say the biggest challenge right now, start with that, is how to support my teachers, because that's really what my role is. My role as the curriculum specialist for health and physical education is to find resources and provide support to teachers. I do, in a normal year, I spend uh, a significant amount of time during the week actually in teachers' classrooms observing as a friend. I'm not an evaluator for our district. I do actually do a little bit of that role occasionally, but for the most part, I'm there as a friend to health and physical education teachers. I'm coaching, trying to see what else we can do. I hear from my teachers, and a lot of times I'm actually taking great ideas to other teachers. Then, so that's the joy of the job, seeing our teachers working with kids. I don't get to do that this year, obviously. And matter of fact, if we end up going hybrid, right now we're still completely virtual. It has already been made clear that there will be no visitors this year in the schools at all. So that means even people like myself. And so we'll have to continue trying to do our support remotely. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that has been happening, and I'm really proud of, is the fact is that we have done a good job of finding resources. A lot of them from Shape America, most of them from Shape America when it comes to the physical activity calendars, for example, and sample lessons and Health Moves Minds. But it's also, developing the things that our teachers need for our area. And so a big part of what I'm doing right now is like I said, uh, providing some structure for the virtual classrooms to our teachers. They can use it or not use it, their choice, but it's there just so they've got some place to start because we're all first year teachers this year. And then the thing that I've been talking about for this year for my role, I'm looking at this now as a year of opportunity in 2021. There's been things I've been wanting to do for years, for the 14 years I'm working on now in this role, that I haven't ever been able to do. Like, for example, get some consistent curriculum guides created for our district. And so we're going to be spending the second semester putting together teams and working on curriculum guides. Uh, so next year we can hit the ground running again. But we have a lot of great things going on. But we're looking at other projects that, since I'm not spending as much time in the classroom doing some virtual visits, not quite the same. What else can I do that's going to benefit our teachers and students?
I love it. And that was a perfect segue to the next thing I was going to ask you about, which is what are the positive things that you're seeing right now? I mean, I definitely see how challenging everything is. And oh my gosh, yes, everything you just said about the importance of supporting your teachers and especially right now in a mostly virtual environment for so many teachers, that is incredibly challenging. But there are some positive things that we are experiencing and seeing, and I think it's so important to lift them up and to hold them up to each other. So, is there anything else you would expand on that as you think about that piece?
Well, I have been always so proud of the teachers in our district. And one of the things that has really jumped out is, again, how they are supporting each other. And matter of fact, the professional learning opportunities that we've put together for our teachers this year, myself and the adapted PE specialists who work with me, we kind of get out of the way. We go and find teachers who are being very successful right now in a virtual environment, and they're doing the professional learning for our development for our teachers. We video them or have them video themselves, I should say, and then we share that, and then there's lots of time for question and answer. So that's the collaboration that's going on and the willing to, hey, I created this, go ahead and use this. That's been number one. I think that's been really phenomenal, and very proud of the work that we've been doing in that area in our district. The other thing then too, I just have to say is, as rough as last year was, it's this, my wife and I were talking about this at the end of 2020, is that we're still here. We're still living our lives with family. So there's still always going to be some sort of, try to find that, that silver lining in the clouds, and that's what we're really trying to focus on, positive and moving forward, even though it's been a really challenging year for everybody.
Absolutely. The act of practicing gratitude, right, is something that I think it's too easy for most of us to forget to do. So well done. I think that's really great and probably really good advice for everybody listening as well. So now let's move into talking a little bit about your presidency of Shape America. Arguably, you are serving as president in one of our national organization's most challenging and unique periods ever in our history. So I'm sure that people listening would love to hear a little bit about what your year has been like so far, and most especially when you think back and look on your year to date as president. What are you most proud of? What has made you happiest?
So one of the things, and this leads to what I just finished with, talking about what's happening in Milwaukee Public Schools, is I'm so proud of our profession. Many times you talk with the professionals, they've created their own lesson plans and unit plans and stuff like that, and they don't necessarily want to share. That is exactly opposite, I think, of what happened when COVID-19 hit. And that's why my theme of Stronger Together popped in so naturally. I didn't know what my theme was going to be before this happened. And then I started watching what's happening across the country and people stepping up and saying, hey, here's how you do this. You got questions, hop on here and let me show you. And it's just been phenomenal. The work that's been done by our professionals across the country to support the kids that they serve. And not just the K through 12 professionals, but also professionals at the college level and supporting their students. So I think that that's probably number one, is the pride I feel towards what we have done as a community. And then I just look at, and again, I can't take credit for the work of the Shape America staff. The Shape America staff has been so responsive to the needs of the community and so quick to turn and as you've used the word pivot, and make changes that were necessary to support our teachers and higher ed professionals who are supporting the people that they serve. So those are two of the big areas that I'm really proud of. The other area that I'm proud of is looking at how we are addressing equity, diversity, and inclusion. One of the things that was one of my goals, and we'll talk a little bit later on this, I think, but is that I wanted actionable items from us to move forward to try to start addressing this, because we're not just dealing with one national crisis right now. We're also dealing with a crisis around social justice in our country that is long overdue and has been building for a long time. And we can only control the parts that we control, the parts that we are involved with. And so as Shape America president, that's also, I'm proud that we are actually making strides in that area. And then probably that one of the things that brought me the most joy to my presidency so far, again, had nothing to do with any of the work that I did, but I'm gonna love this memory, is when we found out that we now have the national health education standards, and that we're going to be uh, putting forward the process to revise those national health education standards. That is one of the biggest sets of news for our profession in a long time. They are long overdue for an update. And I kudos to your staff and yourself for being tenacious about going out to the American Cancer Society and talking with them repeatedly about the benefits to the people in the country around this. And so thank you again for that. But again, those are some real highlights for my year so far.
I love those. Thank you so much, Brett. And I share your excitement about all of them, but especially about the national health education standards. Absolutely. And the opportunity to just forge this path with our partners in this space and take this inclusive, collaborative approach to really make sure we get them right on behalf of our health education teachers and their students is incredible. So thank you so much. I love those thoughts and comments. And now, Can you share a little bit about what you're most excited for in the remainder of your year as president? As you look ahead, there are still some really special, amazing things coming up, and what are you thinking about in respect to all of that?
Well, there's two events coming up that I'm really getting excited about. It was a year ago, the day before Washington D.C. closed down because of COVID. We were in Washington D.C. for Speak Out Day, and so I'm really looking forward to the Speak Out week we're going to have coming up in the next month or so, in March, and I'm looking forward to this new virtual Speak Out Day format. I'm really hoping and excited that we'll get more people signed up because they don't have to travel and we'll have a chance to actually make more of an impact. So that's number one. I think that's going to be a great event. Very excited about that. And then of course the national convention. We missed it last year. It was a tough call that was the right call to do. And again, missing the face to face this year. And one of the things that I always love about the national convention as a health and physical education administrator, there's only two full-time people in my entire state who do what I do. And so there's not that opportunity to go out and do that networking with a lot of other people in my state. That's what the national convention is for, is that networking, meeting all those people that you only see once a year, but you talk to on email or by phone multiple times and getting together and learning from them. And that's what I'm really looking forward to is again, having that opportunity to network with old friends, old colleagues, but also make new friends and new colleagues. And that's the really neat thing that's going to happen with the national convention this year. The platform is not just going to be going in and watching a phenomenal presentation by phenomenal teachers of the year and other educators. It's also going to have the opportunities to do these more informal networking sessions. And there's a lot of ways that we're going to do that through Shape America. And so that's really exciting to me. And then, of course, the convention itself, having all these top tier presenters in our field, from the college level down to the elementary physical education teacher, the health teachers at all levels. We're going to have some stellar presentations like we always do. And those are always phenomenal to look at. And then I take and bring back to our teachers the ones that will fit within our district. And then we've got two phenomenal keynoters that I'm also really excited about. Dr. Adolph Brown, I was fortunate enough to see speak a few years ago here in Wisconsin with our Department of Public Instruction. And he is absolutely phenomenal. And I cannot wait to hear him do our opening keynote. And then we've got Darren Cockrell as a closing keynote. And he is a must see from what everybody tells me. So I've so many good things going on. And then, of course, when we have to celebrate the year that we've had and the teachers and professionals that have been doing the work and have been doing the work for years. And so, we're going to have our Teachers of the Years announced, and we'll celebrate them. We're also going to have all of our other national award winners, all the 2021 class of national award winners and 21 class for the Teachers of the Year. So just so much going to be happening at the national convention. It's going to be incredible.
Thank you, Brett. And yeah, I completely share your excitement about all of those things. Speak Out Day coming up, the first ever national virtual convention, and the opportunity to bring so many people into our community and interact with them and celebrate them in ways that we haven't been able to do before. There is a lot of opportunity, and I share your excitement about all of it. So I know through our conversations and your remarks to the public over time that advancing equity, diversity, and inclusion is one of the most important priorities for you as Shape America's president. You certainly touched on it a little bit earlier, but can you share a little bit more about what that continues to really look like for you? Why is it so important to you personally, Brett? And how do you really hope that it will shape our future at Shape America?
I was raised in a small town in Wisconsin. We had one African American family in our town, and that was after I was probably a senior in high school at that point when they moved into our town. When I first graduated college, we were in the middle of we didn't have a teacher shortage. We actually had a surplus of especially physical education teachers, and it was very hard finding jobs. And so I landed in Milwaukee Public Schools, largest school district in the state, very urban, and also what many people do not believe or understand, it is considered one of the most segregated cities in the country. People say, how can it be segregated? It's in the north. We are very segregated in our city. And when I first came to Milwaukee Public Schools, I was probably like a lot of teachers. It's like, I don't see color. And then as I started learning more about the cultures, about the community that I was serving and working with, I learned how wrong that was. Because first off, we always see color. We just pretend we don't. And if you don't see color, you don't see the person. And so that was a start of my personal growth in this area. And then as my time progressed and working in the community, I just love the community. I'm an urban educator. I will finish my career in an urban, most likely. I can't see myself leaving Milwaukee, but I am an urban educator, and I love working in this community. We have phenomenal teachers, and we have phenomenal kids who need good teachers, and we need kids who understand, or sorry, teachers who understand the cultures that they're working with. And I started seeing how I was part of a system of racism that I still have sometimes a hard time acknowledging myself, that I'm part of a systemic racism. And I need to keep on learning so I can address that. And then, as I said earlier, we can only control the area that we control. We can only, I can't change what's happening in other cities when it comes to policing. I can't change what's happening in policing in my city. But what I can do is try to support teachers and their students as they grow together and learn about how to work together in a more equitable way. So that's the personal side of this. It is one of those things. Now, the second personal side, I was also the Wisconsin Health and Physical Education WHPE president. And it's one of my regrets under that presidency that I didn't do enough about equity, diversity, inclusion during my presidency. It really should have been on my radar, and it wasn't. And so I was not going to make that same mistake now with Shape America. And talking with other professionals who've done this work a lot longer than I have and are much smarter than I have, and talking with some past presidents who said, we've been talking about equity, diversity, inclusion, one form or another for 2 or 3 decades, and it never changes. And so that was one of the things that I came in and I talked to the board and I told Stephanie that this is going to be one of my key areas is we need to actually make equitable change for our staff and for our students. We have to actually make this change, and we have to make it actionable, something that we can say, yes, here's the next step. What's the next step after that? And have specific actions in place. And I want to say, I have to thank Judy Lobianco for, who started the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Task Force. I was one of the people who actually motioned to have that task force started, completely behind it at that time. And that's probably also one of my most proud moments is when the board approved to make it a committee. It is now a committee for Shape America. It is not a task force. A task force is temporary. We know this work is going to be much longer than what a task force can manage. And so that's another very proud moment. But we have been really relying on the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee to provide some feedback around our actions at the board level and Shape America policy and procedures level, and look at our processes as well so we can start addressing some of the systemic racism that we've been part of within our own association for decades. And so I'm really excited for our future, but it's not going to be an easy or quick fix. This is something that has to become ingrained in what we do, that everything we do has to come from an equity lens. We have to make certain that we are supporting all of our teachers who are in our community in the entire country.
Thank you so much, Brett. And thank you especially for your authenticity and your honesty about your own personal journey with all of this and the reflections you've had along the way about all of that and what they've meant to you as president of Shape America. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that so many people listening today, right now, really appreciate it as well. So thank you. And with that, my final question for you today, Brett, is first to again thank you for your time and being a guest on Shape Unplugged. We really appreciate it. And we welcome any last words you might have for our audience.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said, things coming up with Shape America. First off, if you have never been able to participate in Speak Out Day, please check out the Shape America website, find out how you can sign up, and that way you can get trained on how to talk to your representatives, and we'll have groups going to all, we want groups for every state. So please sign up for Speak Out Day. And then also, please, I know budgets are tight. The Shape America National Convention is going to be spectacular. It's going to be unlike anything you've done before. And again, I am really excited to actually be able to talk with people who I haven't been able to talk to, and just learn and get away from a little bit of what's happening day by day, at least virtually. So please check those two things out. And as I've said before, remember, we're all stronger together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brett. And I'll put in a quick plug for the justification toolkit that is online that can be really helpful when teachers are trying to make the case for attending a Shape America convention. And ESSA Title II funds can be used for professional development. And we know that many teachers have successfully tapped into them to pay for registrations for conferences as well. So yes, thank you again, Brett, for your time, for all of your reflections, for a great conversation today about so many important things in the Shape America universe. And thank you for your leadership and service as our president.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening today. And we hope that you will tune in to our next episode of Shape Unplugged as well.